All right, Rockies fans. Well, the Rockies are 1 out away from securing a 5-4 victory against the Chicago White Sox. This would be in the 14th inning. I'm rolling the dice here, but we've got Jalen Beeks on the mound, a runner on second for Chicago. At the bottom of the 14th inning, 2 outs. Rockies up 5-4. We've got a 1-1 count with Nicky Lopez up to bat. I've been waiting to start this show. I was going to do it in the 13th inning. I was going to do it in the 12th inning. And let's see here. The Rockies are going to do it. That is a 5-4 victory for Colorado as they managed to at least win one game in this weekend series against the Chicago White Sox. It was a long one, a 14-inning ball game. What a way to spend your Sunday. And we'll break it all down right here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. Also got some thoughts about what's going on with the team beyond the game. Let's get into it and get this party started.
You are Locked On Rockies postcast, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Rock on, Rockies fans. It is your Locked On Rockies postcast. I'm your host, Aniello Piro. You can follow me on social media at Media by AP. And we gave you a little bit of a live listen in there, or a live play-by-play, as this game ends in the 14th inning with the Rockies emerging victorious. They improve to 28-55 on the season. Chicago falls to 24-62. Now, I will have to stand by my take from yesterday's show and what I've said on the standard Locked On Rockies podcast episode as well. I do think at this very moment, as of June the 30th, even though they just won this game 5-4, the Rockies are still probably the worst team in Major League Baseball. And there's probably not a lot that separates them and the White Sox and the Marlins. But all in all, nice to get a win today, despite it being a rather negative outcome for this team on the road trip overall. So we'll break it all down. Again, be sure to make sure to subscribe to this Locked On Denver Sports YouTube channel as we get started here. And you can find me here just about after each and every Rockies game the rest of the way. And the reason I say you should subscribe is so you never miss an episode, but there's also going to be a bunch of content coming up in football season with the Broncos and the Buffs and the Nuggets when we get back to NBA season. So make sure to check out our friends here on the Locked On Denver Sports YouTube channel. But the Rockies, not a lot going offensively once again. I know they scored the 5 runs, but the new rule that is the extra innings with the runner on second certainly helps that out a little bit. You can play some small ball if you're the Rockies to try to get some runs across here, but they generate just 6 hits today, but that is just enough as they get those 5 runs due the Rockies. And, we'll talk a lot about Kyle Freeland a little bit later on in the program as well. I thought he was great for the Rocks today. Nice to see him get bounce back into form after that early stint on the injured list this season. And, let's take a look at how the Rockies lineup fared with those 6 hits. Charlie Blackmon struggling here as of late. He goes 0-4 today. Jake Cave in 2 at-bats, 0-4 as well. Brenton Doyle did not record a base hit, but he more than made up with it for his glove, or with his glove, I should say. I forget which inning. It was probably the 13th inning, maybe the 12th inning. He laid out to make a diving catch in center field that would have ended the game had it not been a catch from Brenton Doyle. So he makes up for what we didn't see from him in the batter's box with his glove and his defense today, which was fantastic to see. He had a couple other smooth plays out there, did Brenton Doyle. And he really is, you got to look for some bright spots with this Rockies team at this point in the season. He really has been a source of happiness and a source of positivity for this club, really over the course of the entirety of the season. And it's unfortunate that his running mate, Nolan Jones, his fellow outfielder, has failed to get it going offensively. He's been all right defensively as Nolan Jones, but when the two of them and Brenton Doyle and Nolan Jones are, locked in together, I mean, it gives the Rockies a chance on a game in and game out basis. And, just to see Brenton Doyle here today, he's hitting 253 on the season, which, you'd like to see that get up a little bit, but his defense has just been absolutely stellar all season. Gold Glove caliber, in my opinion. And, even if the Rockies would have lost this game, you would have had a couple of highlight reel plays from Brenton Doyle. So shout out to him, although he does not record a base hit. Ezekiel Tovar, who ends up delivering what would eventually be the game-winning run. You love to see Mr. Tovar stay hot. He's got 2 hits with an RBI in today's game. Did strike out 3 times, but he's hitting 284. Ron McMahon playing scrappy today. He had a base hit, hitting 270 on the year. And Elias Diaz, nice to get Mr. Diaz back in the lineup. He had 4 at-bats today, comes around to score a run, had 2 base hits, hitting 307. And look, I know I've kind of beaten the trade deadline stuff to a pulp at this point, but, just nice to see him back in the lineup in general, whether it's going to be to boost his trade value or help the morale of this team, because Lord knows offensively, since Elias Diaz was placed on the injured list, it has been an absolute slog for this Rockies offense. So really nice to see Diaz get back in there and get a couple of base hits on his return to the diamond as well. Sam Hilliard, welcome back to the big leagues. He did some nice stuff today. Nolan Jones 0 for 6 with 5 strikeouts. I don't know what is going on with Nolan Jones. And this is a guy that, last year and even the year previously really stood out as a really solid two-way player for the Rockies. And like I said, I don't know if it's just the injured list has kind of been bugging with him. I don't know if he's got a case of the yips or what it may be, but Nolan Jones's offense has just disappeared, evaporated into thin air, so far this season. I mean, he's hitting, let's see here. Yeah, he's hitting 184 on the season is Nolan Jones, which is just awful. And look, I want to try to be positive because it is a victory show that we're doing here on the Locked On Rockies postcast, but, this was a game that was, I think the Rockies were definitely helped out by the new rules of Major League Baseball. If you don't get a runner on second to start extra innings, I think this game may have gone on for another hour because neither one of these teams were really doing much to put themselves in a position to try to win this game had it not been for inheriting that runner on second base to start the inning and whatnot. But, you got to talk about the bad as much as you got to talk about the good. And, of course, we will talk about the good with Kyle Freeland coming up here in just a minute. But Hunter Goodman, 2 RBI today as well. And, all in all, just I don't even know the words to describe this game. Good enough, just good enough, lucky, but you'll take it. If you're the Rockies at this point in the season, if you're sitting at, 28-55, and we've said this on the show already, the only team that currently has a worse record in Major League Baseball, and I still think the Rockies are the worst team in Major League Baseball just based on how they've been playing. But the only team with the worse record than the Rockies right now is the White Sox at 24-62. So, just to kind of put that all in perspective, it was certainly a battle of the cellar dwellers this weekend as the White Sox take 2 of the games and the Rockies clean up on Sunday. I don't even know if I could use the word clean up. They just don't slip up, or slip up less, get a little bit luckier than the Chicago White Sox in this instance. But good stuff. They score the 5 runs on the 6 hits and do just enough to get the win for the 28th victory of the season. But all right, let's hit a quick break. When we come back, let's take a look at starting pitcher Kyle Freeland's line on the afternoon. We'll also dive into some more conversation about the lineup and just the overall flow of this game as the Rockies take down the Chicago White Sox 5-4 in 14 innings. What a way to spend your Sunday. Back in a few minutes talking about it more right here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. All right, y'all. Let me tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks real quick, because Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. And if you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has got you covered each and every week, from lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. With the finals over, the hoops action does not stop on Prize Picks. Women's basketball is still heating up, with stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese looking to make names for themselves alongside greats like Brianna Stewart and Asia Wilson. You can win up to $100 100 times your cash watching them ball out. Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. And there's just so many different reasons you're going to want to get involved with Prize Picks, guys, because it's easy to win money. It's easy to have some fun and get some skin in the game. And here's an example, like Caitlin Clark for like the player projections. Here's how it works. It's Caitlin Clark for more than 3.5 3 points made, and Brianna Stewart for more than 23 points. And then you could do Kyle Schwarber for more than 9 hits and fantasy score, and Bryce Miller for more than 4 pitcher strikeouts. I made my first $10 deposit and received an instant $10 bonus. If you have the skills, you can play a shot. You can play for a shot at turning your $10 into $1,000. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Be sure to get locked in with our friends over at Prize Picks. All right, and let me also tell you about our friends over at Tax Network USA, because here on the Locked On Rockies postcast, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round, and we get it. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. And I always like to tell this story when I do the Tax Network USA read. My tax return is lost in the mail. The state government doesn't know where it's at. The people that I filed with it don't know where it's at. I'm going to have to go check out my friends over at Tax Network USA and visit them at tnusa.com/lockedon to try to figure out where this thing is at. And tax season is never fun, folks. Look, odds are, and look, I know we probably have some accountants and some big sciencey and mathy people that listen to this show, but if you're like me who talks about sports for a living, or just that's all I want to do, even if it's not what I do for a living, the tax stuff might be learning a foreign language. And our friends over at Tax Network USA are going to get you taken care of, because with over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, not an A, not an A-, an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing it, because yes, you do have to file your sports betting winnings over a certain amount, be sure to call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon, and be sure to mention Locked On Rockies at checkout, and you'll receive a $250 discount off of their services. Be sure to check out our friends over at Tax Network USA. And like I said, folks, let me read this one more time. Be sure to mention Locked On Rockies at checkout, and you'll receive a $250 discount off of their services. tnusa.com/lockedon or call 1-800-549-1000. All right, so welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies postcast. I'm your host, Aniello Piro. You can follow me on social media if your heart desires at Media by AP, on good old X, on Instagram as well. And if this is your first time listening to a Locked On Rockies postcast, I want to welcome you to the show. And if you're wondering what a postcast is, it's not so different than what it sounds like. Postcast, postgame. What you need to know, though, is that after just about each and every Rockies game the rest of the way, you're going to be able to find the content that you want, the Rockies fan wants, right here on the Locked On Denver Sports YouTube channel. And right now we're just doing the Locked On Rockies postcast, but there's not to get too far ahead of ourselves. There's some plans for the Broncos. There's some plans for the Buffs. There's some plans for the Nuggets. So make sure to subscribe to your Locked On Denver Sports YouTube channel so you never miss an episode and you never miss what's coming up on the channel. All right, let's talk about Kyle Freeland's performance today, because it kind of gets a little overshadowed with it being a 14-inning game. You forget when you're starting pitcher, you only pitch a 6 2/3 innings of this game. Maybe things can tend to get a little bit overlooked. And obviously the story of the game here is the extra innings victory. But Kyle Freeland now, I believe this is his second start since coming back off the injured list, Two pretty good starts for the Rockies. His ERA was above 9 when he came off the injured list, and that's dropped all the way back down. Well, I shouldn't say all the way, but 7.94, which still isn't great, but is definitely trending in the right direction if you're Kyle Freeland. And he goes 6 2/3 innings pitched today, 7 hits, 2 runs, both of them earned, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, and a home run allowed. But, that's pretty good for Kyle Freeland. And like I said, his previous start, which came on the 23rd of this month as well, last weekend against the Washington Nationals, he went 6 innings pitched, only gave up 1 hit, no earned runs, and struck out 4 batters while walking 1 as well. So that's now 2 very, very, very quality starts in a row for Kyle Freeland. And we know that this Rocky starting rotation has been up and down, but a lot better, I would say, than the bullpen for the most part this season. But if you can get Kyle Freeland, after those early struggles and after the injured list stint to start the season, if you can get Kyle Freeland to get back to that 2019, 2018 version of himself, at least on a semi-regular basis, I mean, it's just going to open up some flexibility for the bullpen, not having to tax some guys and ride some guys. I mean, look at it today, and I know that this is a little bit of an outside circumstance because it was a 14-inning ball game, but the Rockies have to use 6 different pitchers in this game today. Kyle Freeland was 6 2/3 innings pitched. Victor Vodnik came in for an inning and third of relief. Justin Lawrence pitched an inning. Nick Mears pitched an inning. Tyler Kinley got 2 innings as well. And then Jalen Beeks ends up as the final pitcher for the Rockies today. So a collective of 14 innings pitched for the Rockies. They gave up 10 hits, 4 runs, but only 2 of them earned, along with 4 walks, which have just been brutal. It doesn't matter if it's the starting pitching or the bullpen. The walks have just been an absolute nightmare for this Rockies team this season. And thankfully, it doesn't come back to bite them too bad today as they're able to eke out the victory against this White Sox team. But at the end of the day, it's just they do themselves no favors, do the Rockies, whether it's the walks or the bad bullpen, the lack of control, how bad the offense has been as of late. There's a number of factors that I think add up to the Rockies' struggles. But as it pertains to Kyle Freeland in particular here, good command of his pitches today, I would say, good mix of the pitch arsenal as well, kept the White Sox hitters guessing. And I don't want to discount it too much because, his 2 starts now have come against the Washington Nationals and the Chicago White Sox. And I know that the Nationals are a 500 team, but that's not necessarily a strong barometer for maybe just how effective Kyle Freeland is going to be right now. The White Sox, I know they're big league players, but again, like one of, if not the worst team in Major League Baseball are the White Sox. So, you can only play who's on your schedule, but I do think, the timing of Kyle Freeland coming off the injured list, I think has worked out definitely in his favor. And I think it's setting him up for success, as they move forward here throughout this season. And it's hard, right? Because when you only have 28 wins on the season, I mean, the playoffs aren't even a thought for you at this point in the year. You have to find different ways to kind of keep yourself motivated. And, Kyle Freeland, love him or hate him, and I know most people love him as do I and a lot of Rockies fans because he is that hometown kid. He is going to be here likely for the long haul. Like I don't see, Dick Monfort loves a feel-good story. We talked about that with Ryan McMahon this week about the trade situation and whatnot. As long as Kyle Freeland is decent or serviceable or playable, I expect Kyle Freeland to be a part of this organization moving forward. So, you want to try to figure out what type of pitcher you have on your hands. And if you're going to be able to at least get him close to this version that we've seen of him over the last couple of games, you're going to definitely help yourself up because then you've got Ty Block, you've got Cal Quantrill, who I know got roughed up a little bit this weekend, but Herman Marquez is on the return. Antonio Senzatella due back at some point or another. So it'll just overall, I think, help shape up the continuity and the overall depth of this Rockies rotation. So, the last thing you want to see is a guy like Kyle Freeland come back off the injured list after missing a pretty extended period of time and, just getting shelled left and right and just dealing with the same struggles that he was dealing with early in the season. I mean, let's look at some of his earlier stat lines in April. I mean, he got shelled in the opening day start against Arizona, 2 1/3 innings pitched, 10 earned runs. Was bad against Chicago. I mean, that's the thing. He had not given up the fewest earned runs he had given up in a game through his first 4 starts of the year was 2 earned runs, but he gave up 4 runs in the game. But outside of that, he gave up 4 earned to Toronto, 7 earned to Chicago, and 10 earned to Arizona in his previous starts. And as we mentioned, he came back off the injured list. And so far, Kyle Freeland today, let's confirm. two earned runs in his last two starts for Kyle Freeland. So like I said, just good. And he's pitched, what is that, 12 and 2/3 innings pitched over the course of those two starts. So, you're getting some decent mileage out of him. It's not like he's going 4 and 2/3, 5 and a third. He's getting you into that seventh inning, or at least completing that sixth inning, which has been a rarity for the Rockies with the rotation as of late, it feels like. So, hopefully that Kyle Freeland continue to step it up and, put his best foot forward for this Rockies team, because with Marquez and Senzatella and all these other guys coming back, you want to try to figure out what you have with this rotation as you navigate and get closer to the trade deadline. And of course, soon thereafter, the offseason, where the Rockies are expected to have a relatively high draft pick. But again, the stat line for Kyle Freeland today: 6 and 2/3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, and 1 home run allowed. Outside of the 1 home run allowed, the only thing I think you don't like about Freeland's start today is the walks. And the Rockies had 4 walks today collectively between the starting pitching and the bullpen, which is just not good. But like I said, they escape. It doesn't hurt them today as the Rockies win this game 5-4. So let's hit our final break. When we come back, we'll put a bow on the show. We got some news as a player was designated for assignment. But the reason that I think it's big news is because he was supposed to be one of the big players that the Rockies got back in a trade that they made a few seasons ago. So stick with us. We'll break that down and take a look at what's ahead on the Rockies schedule when we come back right here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. All right, y'all. And let me tell you about our friends over at FanDuel real quick, because I love sports. I love them so much that I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up my bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. And guys, I cannot stress it enough. The folks over at FanDuel do such a great job of making sports betting easy and simple. And with these daily boosts and profit coins and all that good stuff, there's no reason to not continue to get your action down with our friends over at FanDuel. Let me say that again. FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. And look, you're going to have Rockies baseball to bet on the rest of the summer. You're going to have all the other baseball games to bet on the rest of this summer. You've got the Euro Cup that's currently going on. You've got the golf tournaments, the tennis tournaments. You can even start to look forward to your NBA futures, your NFL futures, your college football futures. All of that and more is available with our friends over at FanDuel. Be sure to check them out over at FanDuel.com/lockedon. All right, welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies postcast. I'm your host, Aniello Piro. You can follow me on social media at Media by AP, and make sure to subscribe to your Locked On Denver Sports YouTube channel so you never miss an episode of the Locked On Rockies postcast, and you don't miss what's coming up on this channel as we move closer and closer to the fall football season, and then soon thereafter basketball season. Excited to roll out what we are working on between Mile High Sports and Locked On Sports. So appreciate you guys rocking with us. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow me on social at Media by AP. But okay, before we kind of put a bow on the game that was today, we got some news this morning that I saw that the Rockies have designated infielder Eleris Montero for assignment. And the reason I think that this is important is Montero, along with Austin Gomber, were the two focal points or the two center points that the Rockies were getting back in the trade that sent Nolan Arenado to the St. Louis Cardinals. So, Austin Gomber has been fine. I would say it's been a mixed bag, recently more good than bad, I guess you can say. I mean, I wouldn't even say that. His most recent starts have not been good, but, you haven't gotten anything close to the return from a player, giving up a player like Nolan Arenado, like you did in that trade with the Cardinals, because Gomber's been just all over the place. He's been a relief pitcher, he's been a starting pitcher, and he's been good in spurts, but just lacks that consistency. And Montero, the same story for him, just unable to find his footing at the major league level. He was a victim of hitting the ball to the warning track and just, missing out on those few extra feet to get it over the fence for a home run. He hits the ball hard, came up as a natural third baseman before being shifted over to first base. and the Rockies making the decision over the weekend here to designate him for assignment. And I'm going to pull up a screenshot here from our friends over at Purple Row. Be sure to check them out online at purplerow.com. They do a great job of talking about the Rockies, writing about the Rockies on a day-in and day-out basis. But they say in the 3 years Montero spent with the Rockies from 2022 to 2024, he struggled to find a place on the roster. This year, in 247 plate appearances, he's slashing 205, 267, and 304 with 4 home runs and a 48 WRC plus. His career slash line as a Rocky is 228, 277, 387 with 21 home runs and 67 WRC plus and 739 plate appearances. The natural third baseman was moved to first and finished his time with the Rockies with two defensive run saves at first and -3 at third base. So, this is a guy who with his career with the Rockies for about 3 seasons here was only hitting 228. I mean, the power wasn't there. The defense wasn't there at all. He had made some strides, defensively, but, if you can't hit, it's hard to overlook the defensive woes and whatnot. And, obviously the Rockies, this does not mean that, that this is the end of Elehuris Montero with the Rockies. If he's not claimed by a team on waivers, he'll automatically be back in the Rockies organization. So he could still be around this team, still has an opportunity to prove himself and work his way back up to the big league level. But, the Rockies today, or this weekend rather, announcing that they're going to designate him for assignment is essentially waving the white flag on Elehuris Montero. And like I said, the only other really big prospect that you got in that deal for Nolan Arenado was Austin Gomber, who has not been much better. And so, you're looking at the potential here of the Rockies virtually coming up empty-handed in a trade that sent away arguably the best player in franchise history, and you have virtually nothing to show for it. So that is disappointing. And I do wonder what's next for Montero, because I do think he's got a lot of raw talent. I think it's just a matter of kind of honing it in. I don't want to question his maturity level or anything like that, but I do know that there's been some questions about, how serious maybe he does take the game and whatnot. And at the end of the day, like I said, the raw talent is there for a guy of Elehuris Montero's caliber. It's just a matter of putting it all together. And so hopefully, if he is back with the Rockies, that he can, work his way back up and get back to the fundamentals and get back to the basics, because, it would be nice for the Rockies not to be empty-handed with that trade for Nolan Arenado. But that is the big news, is Elehuris Montero is designated for assignment. But before we get out of here, once again, it was a 5-4 victory for the Rockies today in 14 innings. It was an exciting ball game, fun way to kind of spend your Sunday. Let's look at the scoring plays here for the Rockies real quick. Ryan McMahon, the Rockies ended up, really nothing offensively production-wise. They score a run on a balk in the second inning, and then Hunter Goodman hits a sacrifice fly. The White Sox had a couple of runs in the 4th and the 7th innings, and then the Rockies from there, able to manufacture their runs off of, some of those gifts, that they inherit with the runner on second base to start the extra inning period now in Major League Baseball. But you got to give a tip of the cap to Bretton Doyle. He certainly kept the Rockies in this game. And, at the end of the day, they do just enough, the Rockies, to escape with a victory and snap, what was this, a 5-game losing streak, I want to say? Maybe, I think it was a 6-game losing streak, because they lost to Washington and then 2 to Houston, or it was a 5-game because they lost back-to-back to Chicago. So a 5-game losing streak comes to a close for the Rockies with today's 5-4 victory in 14 innings. But that is going to do it for me, folks. Overall takeaways: Montero DFA'd. We'll see what his future is. Kyle Freeland looking good. Hopefully he can stay back on track now that he's back from the injured list, because Lord knows the Rockies are going to need that. Next up for the Rockies, they'll come home for a couple of series. It looks like, miniature homestand here, 3 against the Brewers and then 3 against the Kansas City Royals. So we'll see what the Rockies can do in those matchups. But that is going to do it for me. Appreciate you guys. Be sure to follow me on social media at Media by AP if your heart desires, and smash that subscribe button on the brand spanking new Locked On Denver Sports YouTube channel. We'll be here after just about each and every Colorado Rockies game the rest of the way. But that is going to do it for me. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy your Sunday night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow as the Rockies get ready to start a series with the Milwaukee Brewers following their 5-4 victory today over the Chicago White Sox in 14 innings. Take care, guys, and we'll talk to you mañana.